Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to what is now our 20th live stream presentation from, you guessed it, beautiful Tlaquepaque on this fall day. It's incredible here. I wish you could see the leaves changing and everything else. And speaking of beauty, yes, you know, here's an interesting story. Growing up, my mother was a painter, and I used to read her art magazines. I'm gonna let him go to work. And in the very back, the last article in the magazine was The Psychology of Art. And as a kid, I always loved reading that because the gist of it was, you as an artist, your work is reflected in your personality in your work. Well, clean, classy, and beautiful describes Shirley, and it describes your work. We are so proud to have you in our gallery, and I cannot wait for everybody to see what you're going to show and how much work is involved in these. This is amazing.
Thank you, Ken.
So yeah, we're glad to have you. So I want to talk about some of the pieces that we have in the gallery now.
Okay.
So this is looks to the earth.
Looking to the earth and sky.
And so this is what you would call a figurative piece.
It's a figurative piece, and it's actually two-sided. So this one is where they're looking down to the earth, and this side, they're looking up to the sky. It's very, it has that Native American feel. I feel that they really have just their feeling for the earth and just how they operate. This is that. And I used a metallic ink, so it gives it more of a bronze look. So it's, but you can see the difference in the colors from one side, and then I've added a little embellishment there.
So the blue is the sky, and this is the earth?
This is the sky, and this is the earth, where there's a little more brown tones to it.
So Lee, if we could, I'd like to look how tight the weavings are. Now, are these called spokes where you have the...
Technically, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm working with waxed linen, and that's, on a regular loom, you're looking at, they're doing it lengthwise. Here I'm working at where I have to go spiral. And so then I weave on that from there. Starting from the center, moving out.
Well, the really great thing is that what dictates the end result is the product you start with, which is the gourd itself. And you have to look at this and say, okay, what is in here? What can I do with it?
That's right.
The interesting thing about this is, I'll let you tell the story, but you cut the windows out, for lack of a better term, and you discovered a crack.
This one, I was cleaning it using this one tool, and it cracked. It's the first time it's happened, right through the front. And I thought, ugh. So I cut this out thinking I could still weave it. 5 times in and 5 times pulling out, I realized I could not do that. So I took this piece, finished it just like the rest of the piece, did the holes, and then put that onto it. Voila, it worked.
Perfect. Well, look at the design. So that was a happy accident,
basically.
Because of this is more three-dimensional.
Well, I find when a gourd comes in, if it has a flaw, sometimes that flaw becomes a design element.
There we go. Being dictated by the...
That's right.
Well, let's look at this one.
Hey, Ken and Shirley, quickly, we've got people already viewing and
right.
weighing in. We've got our good friend Sylvia Herbert. Good morning.
Hi,
Shirley
Sylvia,
and Ken.
Good to see you tomorrow.
Jen Farnsworth.
Thank you, Jen.
Beautiful colors, she's saying.
Yes.
So we love Jen, so good morning, everybody.
Well, please, again, chime in. Randy, our right-hand guy here, is
any questions,
convey
please
any questions and any comments along the way. So this is really cool. This is 4 winds.
This is, and what I've done, when I started working at it, again, Native American, I don't know why.
Yeah.
And it started going into 4 sections, and so I started looking up 4 winds in the legends with the Native American. They talk about the north, south, east, and west, then the colors. And I do a lot of research on the colors that they use.
Yeah.
So that's where that came in. Now, I decided on the back side to do almost like a spider's
Boy,
net
that
web.
looks very, very complex.
It takes time.
So is this woven separately, or it's woven right in place?
It's woven right in place.
Oh my gosh.
Now, people think I tie it on after the fact.
No.
So on this one, I take each different section. I kind of work the sections from one, and I kind of work it out together so I can keep it, so it works together.
Well, one of the elements I absolutely love, which fits the title, is this.
Yes.
What is that?
It's a philodendron sheath. Now in
Really?
California and Florida, they'll throw them out as trash.
Ah.
We weavers love these things.
Yeah.
When they're wet, they feel like leather.
And so it's woven right into
It's woven right in. I had to do that first, and then I had to work very carefully when I weave the top. So once it dries, it breaks.
So you're going to show us how you would start with a gourd, clean it, prep it, and then the creative process that would take place in your
Right.
weaving it.
Because people don't see how much
Quickly,
time.
guys, we have another person viewing, Nancy Hovanes, if I'm saying that right.
Oh,
Yes.
Nancy!
Yes.
Nancy's
Hi,
with
Nancy.
us.
She's from
welcome,
Minnesota.
welcome, Nancy. Lovely, Shirley! Exclamation point.
I heard it snowing up there.
Nancy says she's also an amazing teacher.
Yes,
she took
is.
classes. She came, Nancy, I don't know how many classes she took from me. And she would
Again,
come in
welcome,
from
Nancy.
Minnesota with her shorts. It's the middle of winter
Ah.
with her shorts on going, oh my God, I know you're from Minnesota.
Well, that reminds me too, because you've been weaving for years. You've been teaching for years. You've been
have.
in multiple competitions.
Right.
I read your awards. It goes on and on and on of all the awards you've had. Judges' choice, first place,
I've been
first
best
place,
of show with
best
the-
of show.
Yeah.
So
This particular piece was juried into a show up in Estes Park a couple years
okay,
ago.
Yeah.
And so that was, it's always nice to get into shows. It
Yeah.
just, that's one of the things that's just kind of a little Benny.
Well, you have the credibility, and you have the knowledge and years of experience. So let's go into what we're going to see. You want to segue into
Right.
the prep.
So what
Something
I've
else
done-
quickly, guys. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
Okay.
but
That's okay.
Sylvia's weighing in again. Just says, "Oh wow, how do you keep the gourd from breaking when you weave?"
Very carefully, you work
Very
with it.
carefully.
Yeah.
And then Diana
sometimes
Farron's
it
just
does.
beautiful. Good morning, Ken
Hi,
and Shirley
Diana.
from Ohio. So
Hi there,
welcome
Diana.
to
That's
Diana.
great.
No raven weavings yet, but there will be maybe one someday,
A
huh?
lot of folks already viewing, so welcome everybody.
Yes.
So what I've done, because I wanted people to see what it takes to get to this point, is in my studio I talked about how I come about with my design, and then we did the cleaning, and then I also did talk about the wood burning. And it's just a little segue, little segment that you can see, and then I'll come back in and we'll talk about what I'm working on now.
Yeah, there's so much prep work involved that we wouldn't even know
That's right.
to see, and cleaning. I would imagine when you're sealing and painting these, you have to make sure everything is dust-free and
That's right.
absolutely perfect. So
So go ahead, why don't you run
yeah,
that?
so we'll show.
So I finally decided which gourd I was going to use for my live stream. And I have a lot of gourds, and they're different shapes, but not all of them speak to you at that time. And I also had to look at what would work best for this so that I can really show you what it takes for me to create the pieces that I create. I started out as a traditional basket weaver, got into gourds after I moved here to Arizona, and I probably started in about 2003 or 4 with the gourds. And I found I thoroughly love working with them. The naturalness of them, the earthiness of them just speaks. And I find most times my gourds speak to me in terms of Native American. Now this particular gourd, when I looked at it, I immediately saw that it was figurative. And many of my gourd sculptures are figurative and Native American. And you can see I've got this little piece here. It's wonderful, and I will be keeping it. I started roughing out what I see happening. This area will be cut out, this area will be cut out, and then I will be drilling holes around here, and then I will be what I call warping the loom, but I take my wax linen and I put it on as if I were warping a loom, only at a regular loom you're doing it lengthwise. Here you're going back and forth and across. Then I'm also looking at doing hair, and to do hair, I've kind of penciled it in. I'll be going in and I'll be wood burning this and giving those lines of hair going down. Now, once I'm really decided and sure that this is correct, then I'll be opening it up. Now, right now, I don't need to use my respirator. I'm fine with what I'm doing right now. But once this is open, I have to be very, very safe with what I'm doing because it's very hazardous. And people don't understand that working with gourds, there's no easy way of getting it to where you want it to work with. You have to clean it. And when I started out, I didn't have all the tools, and boy, was that, I can tell you there are many times I had bad words to say when I was working on a gourd. I have since gotten the tools that are necessary. But when I do open up this gourd, and I will do that outside, I can only do this inside, I will wear my respirator, because inside there's mold, there's some small dust, and you don't want to get it in your lungs. So I'm now ready to start to take out or open up the gourd. First of all, I'm going to put on my respirator. So I'll have to take my Dremel and I'll go in there and I'll have to clean that up. But you can see the width of that gourd. That's what is so wonderful about these gourds. I get these from California, and Wellborn Farms has a wonderful gourds. They're very thick. They're very soft. They're easy to work with. Okay. So, you can see what the inside looks like. It's pretty nasty. There's all kinds of seeds, a lot of mold. And that's what I have to clean out next, using my drill and my tools right here. So that's the black. I think I'm still going toward a brown. I'll have to, and it might be that I mix some colors to get the color I want. So at least I know some of the things I don't want to use. I just haven't figured out the right one yet. So that will come.
Okay,
Ready?
we're back. So that is an amazing amount of work just to get to the point where you're going to weave it.
And what they didn't see half of it. This is the wood burning that I did on the back.
Yeah, so you took all this and you hit it with a torch or something?
No, it's an actual wood burning tool that you come and you can do these.
Ah, so what, this darker brown color
it's called gourd ink, and it's an
Ah.
archival ink, and
it stains the...
It stains the gourd. There's a lot of different colors. This is actually the natural color of the gourd.
Boy, where do you source these?
I get them out of California.
They're beautiful.
Wellborn Farms is one of the best. Their gourds are fabulous. They're thick, soft, easy to work with. And I usually just get them by the box because I don't care if they're perfect or not perfect.
Yeah, the imperfections are what you probably want.
Yeah.
Well, so then your thought process on this was you saw...
I saw female.
A female.
I saw female.
And so this is another figurative piece.
Yes, it is.
And I love the title. What is it?
The Elder. I came up with
Elder.
it just the other day.
That is...
And I thought, this is an older lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm looking at colors to go along with that.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't show on the tape was this is my base. That's actually the top to another gourd.
Oh, so that, I see. Well, that's thick.
Yes, and it's secured so that it will not fall off. It's not only screwed on, it's glued on.
Yeah.
So, you have to get all that done before I can even start to do the weaving.
And how do you do all that prep work without breaking the stem off?
Luckily, it doesn't. I mean, I've had that happen.
Yeah.
And this one, I still have decided. I think I'm going to wrap this. And I'm not. There's something. I'm not sure if I can put horsehair. I've got some horsehair.
Oh.
Those are the little in things.
That is great. So all this intricacy, you had to go through and drill each one of these holes, very symmetrical.
Right.
And then you woven. Is this a waxed?
It's a waxed linen.
Linen.
And so what I'm doing is I'm taking it.
Oh, from
spirally.
I see.
And once I've got that set, then I can start to weave, and I weave from the inside out.
So why don't you show us some of your weaving techniques?
Okay.
You want to can you turn that a little bit toward the camera?
Yeah, I will.
Once
I get my needle out.
Oh, you got to get the needle.
Hey guys, Sylvia coming in again, just stating that she loves the ponytail. Gorgeous.
Yeah. Well,
I do too.
Thanks, Sylvia.
Yes, there you go.
So what I'm doing is I've got these are like upholstery needles. They're wonderful. And so what I'm going to do is really a plain weave. It's in and out. That's all I'm doing. Now there are other times I might do something a little differently. So I'm pulling it through, packing it down, continue on from there.
God, I can't imagine how time-consuming this must be. You're going almost a hair width with each weaving.
But at one time I never did small things. Didn't like all that little stuff. But this is meditative.
Yeah.
And also, I weave on these very intuitively. I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I watch and I look to see what I need to do next.
Yeah.
You can see with the tools in my trade, I have all these different colors of wax linen to see which ones I'm going to use.
Yes.
And then once I get to a certain point, I know that those are the only colors I'll use. And then I'll just be repeating them. And this will go out, this is like a shawl going out to the edge.
Okay.
This will be her dress or something. I haven't figured out what I'm doing there.
Yeah.
This will be the skirt.
Okay.
And also I'm hoping to put a belt in using some turquoise. I'll just string some
Really?
turquoise on there. And
Boy, this is going to be a great element to see when it's all done.
just so everybody knows, all of these pieces are here in the gallery. They are for
Yeah,
sale.
Sure. And they're on the website.
And they're on the website.
With the prices there.
And come on in and check them out.
Yeah.
I think it's always good to see them up close and personal.
Yeah.
You can really see what's going on with them.
Oh, they're beautiful. And they fit so well in the gallery because, again, they're earthy, they're organic, and they're very, very classy. And it just fits with the theme of the gallery, which is wildlife and nature.
It really
This
does.
is all from
it does.
nature.
It adds a different element to the gallery,
it's
which
a compliment
is kind of fun.
to the work we already have, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you guys have done well with what the artists you've brought in, and
Yeah,
it's really a joy to be in the gallery.
Yeah.
I really enjoy the work that's there and the artists as well.
Yes.
So you can see I have to work on my lap, and sometimes I'm working sideways. It just depends.
So during the entire weaving process, this wax linen has to endure all this abrasiveness
It does.
that you're pulling that thread through. What if
does.
one of these spokes breaks?
Shirley,
Heaven forbid.
I cry.
excuse me, guys, our good friend and amazing artist herself, Kim Corey,
Oh,
was just
Kim.
asking you, are you self-taught?
As a matter of fact, I am.
Thank you, Kim.
When I started this, a friend of mine and I went to I was living in St. Louis, and we went to a Weavers Guild sale. They have a large Weavers Guild. It's one of the oldest Weavers Guilds in the country, in the state. We saw these wonderful hand wovens and saw some baskets, and we looked at them going, we can do better than that.
Oh,
So my friend found the source for the materials. I found the book, and we started in my basement doing rib baskets.
and then fast forward, how many years ago was that?
That had to be the early 90s.
Really?
And we did that for about a year, and then we found there was a basket shop in town so we could get our materials in town. Found there was a basket guild for the state, so we started going to convention. And so then I was able to take classes from some really good well-known people.
And then you start teaching yourself.
And then I started teaching myself.
And develop your own style.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
when there was about the year before I left St. Louis, I started to do sculptural work. And one piece I was really proud of, took to the shop, and I said, look at this. And the people go, what's that? Sculpture? They're used to,
Oh,
they're
the
used to
traditional.
functional and traditional. That wasn't functional, it wasn't traditional.
But your foundation, being a traditional weaver, really complements what you're doing now.
It does.
You have
I
to
still
have
love
that.
my traditional. I
Yeah.
love doing it, I love
Yeah.
teaching it, and I even love teaching my gourd stuff.
Yeah.
But I always want to challenge myself. I always want to try something new and different, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you work instinctively. You don't know where you're going with it, but the elements you just talked about, like the belt and the skirt and so on and so forth, will just happen as you go.
I saw something the other day, and I thought, oh, can I do that? And I saw a picture of the Native American, she had one of these bone necklaces on. I thought, could I do that?
Ooh, there you
I
go.
haven't figured it out yet.
You will. I know you will.
So this is just very slow.
Tedious. Sure seems like it to me. And the different colors, do you have to tie this off?
What
And
I
then you
do-
go to the next
Not
color?
really. What I do is I'll lay it in there. Because it's wax linen.
Oh, it sticks to itself. Okay.
And then I'll lay another piece right on top of that.
Okay.
In fact, I can just show you that.
Yes, please.
Let me just get this to the end where I can.
Yes, is this a dental tool that you use to pack it? Or is
No,
that
actually, it's called a packer.
Oh, it's actually made for weaving.
It's actually made. The gentleman that designed these used to live in Cottonwood.
Oh.
And they were wonderful tools. When I started out weaving, I used anything I could get my hands on, like a screwdriver or something to pack.
Toothpicks.
And finally, a friend of mine went to North Carolina, and she bought some tools. And I thought, well,
Yeah.
thank God. You know, everything comes back to the tools. And I keep telling my students,
Yeah.
it can be as hard or as easy based on the tools that you get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gourd work, the same thing. When I started out, I used the hand tools. I can tell you, I cussed an awful lot. Every time I cleaned a gourd, I said, why the am I doing this?
Yeah, no
I have to
kidding.
keep it clean. My niece told me I have to make it so she could show her kids.
That's
But
okay.
but yeah, so let me just show you how I would
All
start
right.
another color. Let's just take this one.
This is kind of a tan.
Yeah, this is like they call butterscotch, but it's like a tan.
Yeah, sure.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it back over this, and I'll eventually cut this other line off when I want to, just to get it going the same as the other one.
Yeah.
Then I come back and I'll get that little end and tuck it down.
Oh, so you're kind of weaving to lock it into place.
Right.
Rather than tying. Oh, that makes perfect sense.
And you're not going to see the back.
Sure.
There's only a little tail that's
Yeah.
in there. So then I can just go on from there.
And
I
even
can cut this off.
the thread or this is wax linen as well, is pretty impervious to the elements because of the wax protection.
And the biggest thing is that you can't put it out, you know, if you're going to, let's say you buy one, you can't put it in your car and let it sit there.
No,
and if it's hot,
the heat.
the heat will melt the wax.
Shirley
I
and
have-
Ken, we have Diana Ferens again, just saying, wish she lived here
Yes.
so she could take lessons. I love this.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, Shirley
sometime when you
teaches.
come, Diana, let's figure out
Thank
if we
you,
can do
Diana.
something like that. Right now I'm not teaching because of the virus.
Yeah.
And I've got my students going, oh, but hopefully when that dies down a little bit, we'll back to teaching. I teach usually twice a month in my studio.
That often. Well, maybe next spring little things will calm down enough where
That's
you can
the
do
hope.
that.
That's the
Diana,
hope.
that'd be something to look forward to
I
as
have
well.
many people that they contact me to find out if I'm teaching a class. If they have a couple people or three, I might do a class specifically for them.
Yeah.
And I've
yeah.
done that a number of times.
Sure.
And you know, Nancy Hovanes is a good example where she came in and she'd find out when I was teaching
Yeah.
and she'd come in. So I do that all the time.
Well, I can imagine like Diana is into ravens, which I am too. And so she could do a gourd that's based on a raven theme.
She could do it, well,
I mean, a
she
dark-
could even paint.
Dark, yeah.
See, I don't do a lot of carving because some people do a lot
Yeah.
of carving
Oh,
and
yeah.
painting.
Yeah.
I've done some carving. It's not my thing.
Yeah.
Some people paint where they don't have to open it up at all.
Yeah.
But
even the wood burning aspect would work with feathers
oh,
if
yes,
you
it
wanted
would.
to draw feathers
yes, it
on
would.
a piece. Yeah.
The wood burning is a fabulous thing.
We're
to have.
planning your future, Diana, just in case you didn't know that. Well, this is fascinating.
So I can continue on.
I can't even imagine how many hours. Have you ever kept track of how many hours? Because each one is different. You couldn't.
Some
you
I
couldn't know.
have. Some
Oh,
I
you
have.
have?
Yeah, but not in this one.
Hundreds of hours.
Many
In some
hours.
cases, yeah.
I've got, I don't know how many figurative I've done, but
Yeah.
the time though is really in the prep part too.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I had another one that was actually my first one that took quite a bit. It was a long and narrow one, and
Well, and absolutely every one of them is a one of a kind.
They
There's
are.
no reproducing any
no,
of this. This
no.
is all by
Even though
hand.
someone says I ought to cast them, I think that
Oh, yeah, well, it's true. That could probably be. there's
that
a
would be a very
concept.
very
There's a
challenging.
concept.
I don't know how you do that.
I bet we could figure it out. We could figure it out. So let's look at the top of this. I want
Okay.
everybody to see how tightly woven. And the smaller has got to be harder. Isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I did this first because if I have to get my hand up there,
Oh, that's right. You
I
can
need to
reach
be able-
through here.
Right.
I see.
You really have to think about what
the
you're
steps, yeah, like
Mhm.
cleaning the inside of the gourd and sealing it prior to doing the outside. And
You have to get this all set up before you start to do your weaving.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you can't get in there. I have another piece that I did that's a long piece of wood, and I luckily had a friend help me with that.
Mhm.
And it's a gourd with a couple antlers on it. We had to really plan to how would we put it together, and that it was removable. The antlers are removable.
Oh.
The gourd is removable for shipping purposes.
Oh, that's true.
Because the worst thing is when an artist comes up with something and then the shipper looks at it and going, haha,
You
I can't ship
it.
that.
Yeah,
And
or
I've
it's
had
too
that.
delicate. It wouldn't
Yeah,
survive.
Yeah. So that one I designed specifically for that.
Oh, that's crazy.
We have another question from Sylvia, guys.
Yes.
Do you work on one at a time, Shirley? Or do you have several in the works at once?
Usually one at a time. It's hard. I might clean a bunch of them at once, but I only work on one of them at a time.
Yeah, that's a good question. So let's talk about the raku aspect of what you do too. And I
Okay.
want to show people these pieces you've got going.
So first of all, this is one that's finished. So I did the raku plate,
Mm-hmm.
and then I wove the top of it.
Now that's a beautiful, that's a metallic looking, is
It
it
is.
a glazing?
It's
is
a
that what you
glaze.
would call
It's
that?
a glaze. And I think that one's my copper penny, but
It
it's
is.
got a real copper
If
color
you
to
had
it.
to put all these holes, oh, there you go, from the bottom.
I do that before.
in advance.
I make that. I put those in when I'm making the pot.
So now these are called spokes.
These
is
are
that
called
correct?
spokes.
You were describing a piece you did as a commission that was where the spokes were 7 feet long.
That's right.
So you're weaving
Upside down.
upside down off of a ladder.
Off of a ladder.
So you promised us photos. We're going to show that next
Yes.
Friday when you come in.
Up and down. It was the best thing for my glutes. Because I'm up and I'm down because I have to keep the spokes wet, and I have to get down to spray it, and then I had to go back up to weave, and I come back down to spray it. So
Oh my gosh.
it was interesting.
That
Now
is
these are a couple
amazing.
of pieces
that are in the works that
that have been fired
would be beautiful.
that I can weave on.
Yes. There you go. Yeah, that's beautiful. So let's go to the pieces behind you. I want people to see these, how you can just take elements that you find and weave them in. So what is this?
This is a geode, and what I
Okay.
did, I had to go in and carve out where the geode was going to be put in place.
Okay.
And then on the other side, it's the
Yeah.
same shape as a geode, but I wove it.
Yeah. That is beautiful.
What
And
about
this is some kind of a
it's a
burl?
root burl. It's a
Okay.
root burl.
Yeah.
Yes. And then one thing, the name of this is Spirit Healer, and that came from, I did a little research on the geode, and they talked about the healing qualities of a geode. So that's where the name came from, was Spirit
Well,
Healer.
your titles are great, and they're very fitting to the pieces.
It takes a while. Some I have a title before I get started. Others it takes a little
Yeah.
bit of work.
Yeah, and this is one of your raku pieces.
This is a raku vase that I did,
Yeah.
and you can see it's just a very simple weaving.
This copper is beautiful.
I know, copper
What
is
is
just,
that? Is that copper? It
that's
is,
just
right?
copper that I wound.
Yeah, but you wove it too.
I did. I
Right.
wove it in, and then I love using the little jingles, the little
Oh,
Native
yeah.
American jingles. They really add to it.
Oh, I love the glazing on this too.
Isn't that
Is
great?
there a backside?
Yes.
Yeah, look at this. Great. Oh, this is beautiful with the blue.
Yeah, you never know what
Yeah.
you're going to get. It's
Yeah.
it's a crapshoot. You do
Yeah.
you pray to the fire gods to hope it comes through, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Shirley, it's an honor to have you, and it's so much fun to show what's behind the scenes. We're going to continue this next Friday.
Yes, we will.
And you're going to bring us some photos and maybe some more video too from your studio. We'll
Sure.
see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
But to all of you, we thank you so much. We love you. We feel blessed to have you involved in this entire process. So please come back next Friday and watch what Shirley has to do, and we'll continue this entire plea.
We look forward to seeing you.
Yeah.